Color grading is a difficult and time-consuming process that requires years of training to truly be mastered, but it is absolutely necessary to advance your filmmaking projects and take your footage to the next level. While there's many nuances to creating solid grades, I'll be showing you a simple color grading workflow that you can apply to any of your projects that doesn't require expensive LUTs or easily breaks your image, and it can be done by anybody for free. I highly recommend DaVinci Resolve for this, but these strategies may also be translated to Final Cut Pro, Premiere Pro, and so on. Before starting to grade anything in Resolve, you will want to open up your project settings and head to the Color Management tab to check on two specific things. Our color science is set to DaVinci YRGB, which essentially means that Resolve won't color manage our footage on its own. We're going to do this manually. Second thing is our timeline color space. Now usually this is set to Rec 709 Scene, which might be fine for you depending on your hardware. But if you're experiencing a gamma shift after exporting your footage, this might be your culprit. I'm working on a 2018 MacBook Pro and I have to change this to Rec 709A to fix this issue. Now that everything is set up correctly, we can start building our node tree. Among a few other things, this is what makes Resolve so special. You're not working with tons of layers, you're working with nodes. You can quickly create new nodes by hitting Option plus S on the keyboard. We'll start with 4 serial nodes and create a layer mixer on the fourth one by hitting Option plus L. I'll explain this in a minute. This is followed by 3 additional serial nodes, and I'll group them to make this easier to understand for you. The 3 nodes up top will be used for color correction, which is an absolutely essential part for creating solid color grades. In the second group, we'll be creating our look, and the final one is reserved for additional fine-tuning. Let's name them for quick reference. I've purposely picked fairly old footage I shot quite a while ago. This is shot in a flat log format to maximize the dynamic range that I can pull out of this image, but it is an 8-bit image, which means it has very limited color information and more easily breaks. This is why I recommend filming in 10-bit or above if possible. However, it will be perfect for demonstration purposes, and this means if I can create a good looking grade out of this, so can you. First, we'll have to convert the log format to Rec 709 to make it usable, and this is where the first mistake comes in I see tons of people make. It is not enough to simply increase the contrast of your log footage. A proper conversion is based on mathematical calculations, whereas simply increasing your contrast is entirely dependent on your eyes. And your eyes are easily influenced by the lighting conditions in your room, the time of day, even the angle in which you're looking at the screen. So for optimal results, apply a color space transform effect or an official conversion LUT from your camera manufacturer. Under the effects panel, look for color space transform and drag it on your second node. This footage was shot on Fuji X-T3, so for my input color space I'll be choosing either Rec 709 or Rec 2020, and for my input gamma I'll select Fujifilm F-Log. Make sure to find out the specifications for your type of camera beforehand. For my output color space, I'll select Rec 709, and for the output gamma, I'll choose Gamma 2.4, since we're delivering a YouTube video. The first node is used for exposure corrections that we want to apply before converting our image into its delivery format, via the color space transform. I'm exclusively using the primary color wheels to do these corrections. In this specific case, only the lift and gain controls to pull the entire exposure down by a bit and make it a little more punchy. Next rookie mistake. Lots of people constantly talk about stretching the image from top to bottom to maximize the information, and they'll do this. Do not do this. This doesn't look cinematic, this does not look believable. Have a look at your favorite movies for reference. If there is no blown out white light source in your image, your waveform shouldn't be touching the top part of your graph. Period. Third step, white balance. People usually use the temp and tint sliders, but I've grown to prefer the offset wheel. I won't waste your time with nerdy technical stuff, but the offset wheel affects the color of your image in a completely linear manner, whereas the temp and tint sliders do not. Now that we've properly color corrected our footage, we'll start with the actual color grade, and that's where the layer mixer comes in. The latter node right before the layer mixer takes precedent over the former, which means that we won't be seeing any changes we make to the look node, the fourth one, in the viewer window, since the skin node, node 5, currently sits above it. As the name implies, however, we'll be using the skin node to isolate her skin. This is the reason why we've applied the color space transform so early in our workflow. It is significantly easier to pull a clean key once the image has been converted to Rec 709. We'll head to the qualifier tab and use the eyedropper on her forehead. So quick side note, the forehead is usually the best part to pull a clean key when it comes to skin tones. We can monitor our selection by using the shortcut Shift+H. As you can see, the qualification picked up quite a bit of her skin, but the key is still far from good, which is why we'll be manipulating the selection by changing the hue, the saturation, and the luminance values. We can finesse our selection with these sliders on the right side. I like to play with the pre-filter, clean black, and the clean white sliders, and then add a bit of blur to it. In the second tab, you'll also find the denoise slider. You can see that our final selection isn't strictly restricted to her skin, but parts of the background are also affected. If you like, you can finesse the selection by adding a power window, but in this case, it is fine for me. Hit Shift and H again to turn off the preview, and now we're talking about the look node. And this is where the magic happens. Thanks to our layer mixer, we're able to introduce and shift the colors of the background without affecting her skin, which is how you can sell very pushed looks without sacrificing believability. I'll shift the lift ever so slightly towards the bluish side, the gamma towards orange, and the gain once more towards blue. Before, after, before, and after. This introduces some cool tones in the background that contrast with her skin. We're going for a variation of the ever so popular teal and orange look. But let's work on her skin for a bit more by bringing down the lift to make it a little bit more punchy, and then adding some more contrast to create more depth. I'll slightly shift the pivot to fine-tune the contrast as well. Now our model already has beautiful skin, but we want to add some more color by pushing our gain towards orange and warming it up. Okay, just look at the difference we've made with these minor adjustments. To add some more dimension, I want to go back to my look node as well and push the contrast a little bit further. Now you could call it a day and be done with it. In just 5 nodes, we've successfully converted, color corrected, and graded our log footage to create a clean and beautiful teal and orange look. But that being said, I'd like to go a bit further and make it the best it can be with just a few more steps. And remember, we're working with 8-bit footage. No matter your camera, you'll also be able to do this. Node 7 is where I'll be doing secondary adjustments to my look by using nothing but the curves. Starting with the custom curve, I'll create a point towards the middle of the graph and slightly pull down my shadows to enhance the depth of the image further. The hue versus hue curves are incredible. They allow you to shift one hue towards another, and I want to do that with the blues and drag them more towards the teal side. On the hue versus sat, I want to desaturate my blues a bit to stylize the look, and then under hue versus luminance, also make the blue parts a bit darker. Since this node tree makes it very easy to retrace our steps, I'm thinking about going back to my look node and adding some more cool tones by pushing my lift more towards the teal side. Let's look at our before and after. This is what we've managed to achieve in just 3 nodes. Okay, last step, fine-tuning. Let me show you a method to get clean highlights. We'll be using the qualifier once again, but this time start by deselecting the hue and saturation and just work with the luminance. Hit Shift and H again to get a preview of the selection. By dragging the selection more towards the right, we're omitting all the darker parts of the image and then feathering it out by using some low soft. As you can see, the brightest parts of her skin also show up in our selection, which we can easily get rid of by activating the hue and decreasing the width. There we go. Now only her top as well as the brightest parts of the sky are selected. Under the hue versus sat curve, we'll get rid of any color except for our desired teal. And to truly complete our grade, I'll end things with sharpening it ever so slightly in our last node. Let's head to the blur panel and reduce the radius to 0.47. I wouldn't go much further than that, especially when working with 8-bit footage. And there you guys have it, creating a proper clean teal and orange color grade in just 8 nodes. That's how I do it, and let's quickly recap everything we've learned. Starting with our second node, we've used the color space transform effect to properly convert our log footage to Rec 709 and take out all of the guesswork. The first node was used to correct the exposure of our image with nothing but our primary wheels. Then we've balanced our image with the offset wheel in the third node. In our look node, we've pushed in lots of cool tones and added some contrast to create depth. Our skin node was used to isolate the skin of the model, give that some contrast as well and push it towards a natural orange color. Have a look at the vector scope real quick. By activating the skin tone indicator, you can make it easy for yourself to see if you have proper skin tones. So no matter the ethnicity, your skin tone should always trend towards this line to look believable. We've enhanced our look by using our curves to shift some of the hues and create deeper colors, cleaned up our brightest highlights, and finished by adding some more sharpening to our image. Now let's check out the look in full screen. This was a long time coming, but I wanted to do it justice and create something that anyone could easily replicate and achieve great results with. If you've made it this far, I wanted to personally say thank you and I appreciate you sticking around. Over the past couple of years, I've made vast improvements to my color grading workflow and to the results I'm able to achieve, but this is very much still a learning experience for me. If you've any further questions, let me know in the comments section and stay tuned for my upcoming projects. I believe you'll appreciate what I have in store for the future. Take care, guys.